Today we have here with us once again respected Dr. D.D. Kale, former professor for UDCT ICT, and as we all know, Dr. Kale has been actively in support with our plastic industry. During ban time also, he has pushed a lot in favor of our industry. And Dr. Kale is also active committee member of different environment related committees when it comes to the state government or the national government. So, Dr. Kale will explain to us about the issues related to PUC registration and everything, and then we will move forward with our presentation. Dr. Kale, I would request you to take on the floor and enlighten us about the information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vasu, and I welcome everybody. When Haren Bhai asked me to talk on this issue, I was not really sure whether I'm the right person because I don't have industry, I don't work for any PUC or anything. So, but still, I thought let me apply my mind to this one. And then I said, when we said air, water, and soil pollution, then I said, let me see why recycling industry should worry about this thing. So maybe my first slide will tell you that for recycling industry, plastic waste is important. That's your starting material, and that is going to grow. Everybody may ask me this question: why it should grow when everybody is talking about banning? Last week itself, I saw one horrible High Court decision from Madras High Court. All of you must have seen that. That the High Court is talking about eradicating the plastic from Tamil Nadu state. I don't know how they are going to achieve it. I have given my opinion on that one. But let's not worry that about all these things. So increase can be for a number of things. One, everybody is talking about EPR, everybody is talking about doing something for the waste. So collection efficiency may increase, in which case, again, material will be available for recycling. Then, with all these so many restrictions of lockdown and pandemic and so many things happening, most restaurants will be closed. They will be giving you takeaway material. So they will have to pack it in plastic material. Again, when you are traveling, you will be carrying your own food. That also again will be plastics, drinking water bottles, and so many things. So everything is going to grow. Not only that, but if again something happens that because of rain and all that people are stranded, you are going to supply the food again in plastic material only. So till the plastic is useful, everybody will be happy. Later on, again, these lobbies will start working against plastic. Let's not worry about it. So most important part is that waste plastic is going to increase. Let's see what will happen if it increases, which is given in my next slide. So pollution of the plastic recycling could become important issue. So far it has not hit us, but it may. Let us see what could happen, why it could be there. Traditional recycling industry is mechanical recycling. We are reprocessing basically. In true sense, you get the material, melt it, make pellets and give it back. So there is nothing like any chemical change. This whole industry comes under mechanical industry. So one may be worried about, maybe wondering why we should worry about it. But it may become an issue later on. As about 15 days ago, I participated in a webinar of National Productivity Council. Now everybody is talking about microplastics. And this issue again came out, that during processing what happens. So I said, so far I have not seen any microplastic, but that was not the right answer, I know. So where that air pollution may come, small particles during shredding, that they can float in the air. So that may be dangerous for the workers as well as people around there. So a small particle mask will be okay. Or somebody can use the what you can say air filters around that if it is a larger quantity, so that these floating particles can be arrested to the large extent. So that way, that air pollution may not be a big issue, although one has to think about it and remove this right from the beginning if one can plan it. One should not start talking about it after the inspectors come and tell you something. Be ready for that. least it's like giving the mask to the workers. They may not use it, but at least you have said, you say, yeah, we have given the mask. They are not using. I can't help it. So that way you can save yourself. Then next could be, as shown in my next slide, where could be a solid pollution. It may come from leftover of plastic waste not being recycled. You may bring in a lot of material. Everything you may or may not be able to reprocess. Something will remain, so that plastic may remain there. The soil which accompanies the waste, also you separate metal, glass, small pebbles. All these things you have to remove before you start reprocessing. So those also will get accumulated as a solid waste. It could be coming from the filtration of water, which removes the dirt or vegetable particles and other materials. You might separate them by density up here. Again, more dense material will settle down and that you will remove. So all these things will contribute to the solid material, solid waste. Now it may not be called as a pollution, but it's a waste. So if it has some objectionable material, you must be taking care of it. Discard of this in a normal manner may be acceptable. It may not create a still big issue. Still, we may not have looked at this today. So if we are talking futuristic, when all these things will grow, it is better to think about it now so that we are prepared for it. And the last one is water pollution, because we talked of air pollution, we talked of solid pollution, and now we are talking about water pollution. This can be a new upcoming issue. So far it has not troubled us. It may. Where will that water pollution may come from? Water is required to clean waste material, undoubtedly, because what you are bringing is a waste material from municipal waste or from hotels or wherever. You may be bringing it from any source, but it will have the remnant food, some oily material, dirt, because when you collect so many things, you will collect dirt also along with that. The pouches, fatty matter will be sticking to it, like milk pouches or drink that you buy from Tetra Packs. Unused sugar may be there. Sugar is not sugar per se, but solution or water in which sugar is dissolved. So that soft drink, what is left over is all sugar. And this I have seen, because when my student was working on PET bottles, I had asked him to go to SL World Packaging and collect all the waste bottles from there. And when he brought back next day, he found that there was Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola, whatever cola, then orange, and along with that, some cockroaches also. So I said, this is what your problem could be later on. You must know what you are going to process. So all these things will be there. We have to remove this. So water, what can happen? What can go in water? People will be using either surfactant so that oil can go away. You might be using caustic soda because that's cheaper. Normally 1% solution is recommended. Out of that 1%, 0.5% is sodium hydroxide, and remaining 0.5% most of the time is caustic soda. But it gives alkalinity to the water. That is one part. Then it will emulsify the food matter. It will emulsify the oily matter. So now that will also go into the water. So all these matters will be going into this, and we must be analyzing this today so that we know what we are likely to throw in the future. Today the quantum may be small, tomorrow the quantum may become larger. Even the analysis may change over time to time. So what happens when water is being discarded like that? It contributes two things. One is called COD and another is called BOD. COD is chemical oxygen demand and BOD is biological oxygen demand. What do they mean in actual sense? Let us see in the next slide. The surfactants which go, they are all chemical material. So they are organic chemicals. So what happens is that these surfactants can cause some kind of a COD or BOD. Surfactant, if it is biodegradable, it will cause BOD, biological oxygen demand. When organic chemical compound is to be converted into CO2 and water, you have to introduce air from outside. That is counted as COD. BOD is the one that you don't need outside oxygen. These materials like vegetable particles or oil or milk, when they are put into the water, they take the oxygen which is already dissolved in the water. As a matter of fact, what happens, because they take that oxygen is not available for the living organism like fish. And that's why this particular oxygen demand is called as the biological oxygen. And both these are not good materials, and there are norms for that. And one has to take care of this so that when you leave the effluent water into the general stream, it meet all the requirements. It doesn't require extra COD or BOD. One of the ways that I had seen earlier was whatever water is being treated, you can see that even in municipal water treatment plant near Elphinstone Road, that after the water is treated, they put some actual living fish and show that nothing happens to the fish. So that's a final acceptance that it is free from BOD. Now, all these COD or BOD really depend upon the concentration of that food. So it will depend eventually how much water you are using. If you use very large quantity of water, concentration will be low. But water costs money. So everybody tries to use as minimum water as possible. And therefore, recycling of water also is important. So if the water has to be treated either inside your own premises by a single industry, then he must set up one aeration. What we mean by aeration, it's like fish tank, you put air. So like that, you have to hold air and distribute the air very nicely into the whole system. Sometimes they may use some catalyst. Most of the times catalyst may not be required. And this oxygen is good enough under the prevailing conditions to oxidize the chemical compound. It also enriches the water, that if any dissolved oxygen is being used by some compounds, it adds this extra air, and this particular part, this aeration, makes you happy that the water quality has improved. What happens to a natural stream? We never worry about it. When the natural stream of river flows, you know that it goes through so many curves and this and that, and then it hits some wall, it hits some stones, and we hear that nice sound, flowing water. Basically, that's nature's mechanism of mixing the water, bringing it in contact with outside air. The water which is turbulent is more oxygen, having more oxygen than smooth water flowing, because only the upper surface gets the oxygen. So nature has its own way of doing this. We must learn that particular. Therefore, aeration plant will have to be prepared by, the aeration plant has to be prepared by the in situ. If this is something which is going out in a common effluent treatment, then you must know what you are sending. That we shall see in the next part. What is the next slide, please? So discharge norms for effluent water as recommended by MPCB, they are given here. Next slide, please. So what do they say? Suspended solids, because your filtration may or may not be good. Therefore, they have this norm. pH 5.5 to 9. Less than say 1 up to 5.5 is acidic, and beyond that is 9. Let me tell you one thing, that if you add 0.1 gram of sodium hydroxide, and if the pH is 8, 0.1 becoming 1 part, pH becomes 9. So it's a logarithmic scale. So increase of 1 of pH means increase of that particular concentration by 10 times. So pH is very, very important for us. Temperature, whatever the outside temperature, accordingly at 5 degrees centigrade limit is given. Oil and grease, some oil and grease may go. Biochemical oxygen demand, as you can see, BOD. COD has been given, and total dissolved solids. Some of the material may be soluble like surfactant. So there is a limit for that. Now, these are changing from time to time. And therefore, one has to check this on the website of that particular MPCB. Maharashtra, therefore, it is MPCB. If you are in some other state, corresponding pollution control board, as we say PCB, they give these norms. So we must know what are the norms of water which you are leaving either into the municipal stream directly or into the common effluent treatment, because what you leave into the common effluent treatment, you must know. Let us see that in the next slide. So if it is treated in a common effluent treatment plant, what is it meaning of this? There may be 10-20 industries. So every individual cannot afford to have his own effluent treatment plant. A, you may not have space, and B, it may be expensive. Therefore, what people do is that they collectively put one small plant because everybody is not having a very big effluent problem. In which case, everybody should know what others are putting in, because eventually the total cost of common effluent treatment has to be borne by everybody. Therefore, for that also, you must know what you are discharging into the common effluent treatment. And therefore, whatever I showed in the previous slide, what are your characteristics of the water that you are leaving outside should be known to you. And it's a very simple titration method. It doesn't require very highly sophisticated laboratory or something. There are many times meters so that you just put in and reading comes in. You don't have to employ very highly person can do this. Or somebody can come every week or something, and commonly he can do that. So it can be another industry that they will go to number of industries, analyze that from every day or every 2 days or every week, and that is good enough for most of them. So what are the quantum, that is, what are the parameters that we need to know? One, how much quantity of effluent you are generating per day, how much you are leaving. Is it 5 liters or is it 50 liters or 500 liters? First step, effective solid liquid separation should be ensured before discharge. So that when you are filtering something, you remove your own solids so that that much load on your common effluent treatment will be reduced. And that can be put in your solid. Again, depending upon the characteristics of effluent treatment, some of the facilities will have to put it yourself, like settling tank. What is settling tank? Something will just settle down on its own. You can put some alum, etc., and then it or flocculants, and then it will flocculate faster. Flocculants are polyacrylamides, so they can do very fast accumulation. Then, if there is a biodegradation, then that we must know. Then aeration can be employed to meet all these parameters. So, depending on the characteristics, some small facilities may have to be put in your own as well as into the common effluent. Next slide. It will depend upon nature of the effluent, characteristics of the effluent water. Water cleaning and recycle can be considered, because if I'm not dirtying my water much, if it is only having, let's say, suspended solids, then I can always have 3 or 4 different tanks. And first tank may be having all the muck being removed and everything being removed. Last one may be only remnants. That quality of water could be good. When you use that quality, that can be pumped into the another tank, and another tank, last dirtiest water will be discharged outside. So your quantum will be less, and the amount that you are putting also will be less. Now, these recycling plants or all these, whatever I talked about, aeration plants, they are not very expensive. I know many agencies who give a small effluent treatment plant for the chemical industry, which is not a very highly sophisticated chemical industry. The industry may be doing large drums they bring and fill the small amount of chemical into small bottles or say repacking. But there is some spillage, there is some washing. Maybe they are mixing 2 or 3 different chemicals. Again, there is mixing. Therefore, those kind of plants require very small place, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet or sometimes in that of that order. And costs don't run in crores, it may be few lakhs of rupees. But I'm not promoting or I'm not advocating A company or B company. One can see that, I mean, there are many people available on the website. I know few of them. If anything required, I can always pass on those numbers. And they can always help you. See, today this activity may not have taken place. But if we start, at least some persons will start thinking about what kind of plant is required. Don't go by, oh, I'll buy this plant or I'll buy that plant, because your major activity is not effluent treatment, but major activity will be recycling. Collective thinking or individuals saying that, okay, what is water that I'm using? How much is my characteristic? That will help us to be prepared for the future, because this is for the futuristic approach. And this may happen here. Let me tell you, if we do this in India, there is a scope that this can be exported or this technology can transferred somewhere else. So it's not just that you do it for yourself, but there is a possibility that this can be exported. It can be worked together along with machinery, suppliers like EPR. You can have 2 or 3 stakeholders coming together and one can do this. I think it's a very good approach. This is a good effort. I'm very happy that Arvind Bhai has thought of this. And if we are aware about all these things, that generation of awareness is really very useful. And if I can be of any use, I'll be more than happy. Thank you.